Season 6 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch was supposed to deliver answers. Instead, it revealed something so disturbing that even Dr. Travis Taylor, a man of science, was left speechless. Beneath Utah's red earth, the team uncovered what appears to be a buried intelligence, something ancient, engineered, and very much alive. The ranch didn't just fight back, it warned them. Stay tuned as we break down the moment the mystery of Skinwalker Ranch was finally solved, and why that truth may be far more terrifying than anyone expected. Subscribe for more unexplained discoveries and real-world mysteries. It started like any other night at Skinwalker Ranch, cold, windless, and unnervingly still. Inside the command trailer, the hum of machinery filled the silence as the Luna Group's subsurface radar swept across the mesa. On the monitors, green lines flickered, translating the invisible depths below into tangible data. But something was wrong. The readings weren't random geological noise. They were organized. Each pulse of the radar came back with the same strange pattern, equidistant lines stacked in parallel, moving toward the center of the ranch like veins feeding a single heart. Dr. Travis Taylor leaned forward, his mirrored lenses reflecting the monitors as his expression hardened. "These aren't caves," he muttered, voice barely above a whisper. "Somebody built this." The others stared at him, waiting for a laugh that never came. The air seemed to thicken, the trailer's temperature dropping several degrees in seconds. Then, without warning, every monitor in the room flashed white. The sound cut out. For a full 3 seconds, there was only silence, before the entire system rebooted itself. When the radar came back online, the pattern had changed. The tunnels they had just mapped were gone, replaced by blank readings, as though the Earth itself had erased them. "What the hell?" murmured Eric Bard, tapping the keyboard. "We didn't lose signal. It just deleted itself." Then came the vibration. A deep, bone-rattling hum rolled through the floor like a heartbeat beneath their feet. Caleb Bentz looked around nervously. "It feels like the ground knows we're watching it," he said. Travis didn't respond. He just kept staring at the screen, eyes wide. He'd spent years chasing UFOs, energy bursts, and inexplicable phenomena. But this was different. This was intelligent behavior, a defense mechanism. The lights flickered again. Static crawled across the monitors, spelling out shapes that looked almost deliberate before vanishing entirely. In that moment, every man in the trailer understood. They hadn't just discovered something buried under the mesa. They had alerted it. Whatever slept beneath Skinwalker Ranch was now awake, aware, and reacting to their intrusion. And as Travis muttered quietly to himself, "Something down there doesn't want to be found." The next morning, under the thin Utah sunlight, the Luna Group doubled down. Jeremiah Pei, the young visionary behind their advanced radar technology, wasn't ready to back off. His team rolled out a series of subsurface scanners that used frequency stacking, a method so sensitive it could detect air pockets at the atomic level. "If something's down there," he said, "we'll see it." But even his voice carried unease. The men knew the ranch had a reputation for punishing curiosity. As the new equipment powered up, the command trailer hummed like a living thing. On the screen, the Earth unfolded in layers, strata, fault lines, and voids. But this time, what emerged wasn't geological chaos. It was geometry. Beneath the mesa ran a series of perfect straight corridors, evenly spaced, each one connecting to a larger central structure. "That's not erosion," Eric Bard whispered. "That's design." The realization hit hard. Nature doesn't build in right angles. Someone, or something, had carved these lines intentionally. As Jeremiah expanded the scan radius, the voids revealed a lattice, a network converging beneath 3 of the ranch's most infamous hotspots: the Triangle, the East Field, and the Mesa itself. The very places where cameras malfunctioned, compasses spun wildly, and UFOs appeared without warning. Travis Taylor stepped closer to the monitor. "These tunnels," he said quietly, "they're not random. They're laid out like a system, power lines or arteries. The more data streamed in, the clearer it became. Whatever was buried below was engineered for function, not chance." Then it happened again. The radar feed flickered. A pulse of interference hit the signal, sharp and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. "That's biological," Caleb muttered, half joking. But no one laughed. The instruments began vibrating violently, and a faint metallic tone rang through the trailer, rising in pitch until the windows rattled. Jeremiah shouted over the noise, "We're losing coherence!" before cutting the power entirely. When the silence returned, everyone could feel it, that eerie, heavy awareness in the air, like being watched from below. Travis broke the tension with a voice that sounded less like a scientist and more like a man who'd glimpsed something he wished he hadn't. "This isn't geology," he said, shaking his head. "It's surveillance." And as the team exchanged uneasy glances, a chilling thought settled in. Maybe they weren't mapping the Mesa at all. Maybe the Mesa was mapping them. By the third night, the air around Skinwalker Ranch felt electric. Static clung to every surface, and even the ground seemed to hum with a low mechanical vibration. Inside the command trailer, the Luna group ran a synchronized deep scan, layering thermal, magnetic, and radar imagery in one sweep. If the Mesa had secrets, this was the night they'd finally be exposed. The first few passes came back normal. Soil density, mineral veins, fractured bedrock. But then, the screen shifted. A cluster of shapes began forming beneath the center of the triangle. At first, it looked like an error, a blur of overlapping frequencies. But, as Jeremiah's team stabilized the signal, the blur resolved into structure. The readings showed a massive hollow void, perfectly symmetrical, buried more than 400 feet below the surface. Its walls were smooth, its boundaries precise, a chamber so large and mathematically clean, it couldn't have been formed by any natural process known to geology. The room fell silent except for the low hum of the monitors. Travis Taylor adjusted his glasses, staring at the data. "That's not natural," he said flatly. "That's built." His voice cracked slightly at the last word. When they rotated the imaging, the true scale came into view. The chamber spanned nearly the length of a football field, with angular corridors connecting it to the same lattice of tunnels they'd discovered earlier. One of those tunnels ran directly beneath the metallic anomaly that had destroyed their drills years ago. The same spot where Thomas Winterton had suffered that inexplicable skull swelling. The pieces were starting to align in ways that defied reason. Brandon Fugal, usually calm and analytical, stepped closer to the screen, his face pale. "You're saying there's a structure," he said quietly, "a facility under my property?" Before anyone could respond, the screens flickered again. The chamber's image distorted, then pulsed with a faint blue glow, like light bouncing off metal deep underground. The equipment began to whine. Eric Bard shouted that the sensors were spiking beyond safe levels. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the image was gone. The entire feed wiped clean, replaced by flat static. Travis exhaled slowly, his tone darker than before. "It's active," he said. "Whatever's down there, it's aware we found it." And as the hum faded and the monitors went black, the team realized something horrifying. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a reaction. Something deep beneath the Mesa was responding to them, like a living organism defending its own body. The next morning, Skinwalker Ranch didn't just feel hostile, it felt alive. The usual desert quiet had been replaced by a thick, heavy stillness that made every breath feel monitored. Even the wind seemed to stop at the Mesa's edge, as if obeying invisible boundaries. Brandon Fugal described it best. "It's like the air itself is listening." Inside the command trailer, chaos was brewing. The Luna group had barely recovered from the previous night's system crash when new interference began to crawl through their instruments. Monitors flickered with phantom readings, timestamps looped backward, and GPS units started displaying coordinates that didn't exist on any map. Jeremiah Pay slammed his keyboard in frustration. "It's like it's rewriting our data in real time," he said. "Something's hijacking the signal." Eric Bard's voice cut through the confusion. "Check the EM readings." Travis Taylor bent over the console. His mirrored lenses reflected a growing spike on the screen. The energy was off the charts, emanating from the same coordinates where the radar had detected the underground chamber. "It's not just interference," Travis muttered. "It's a response." Then came the physical reaction. Every device inside the trailer, phones, tablets, even watches, began vibrating in unison. Loose metal objects hummed and trembled. A low-frequency tone filled the air, resonating through their bones. Thomas Winterton staggered, clutching his head. "It's the same pressure," he gasped. "The same one from before." Before anyone could move, the lights dimmed, and the entire trailer shuddered as if struck by an invisible wave. The temperature plunged in seconds, their breath now visible in the cold. Outside, motion sensors erupted. The monitors flashed with silhouettes, humanoid outlines pacing along the ridge, each one fading the instant a flashlight turned their way. Caleb froze. "We're being watched," he whispered. Travis didn't disagree. "No," he said, voice low and certain. "We're being warned." When power finally stabilized, every camera that had faced the Mesa was dead. No footage, no signal, just static. It was as if the land itself had reached up and deleted the evidence. That night, the team realized they weren't alone on Skinwalker Ranch. Whatever intelligence was buried beneath them, or perhaps within the land itself, had drawn its line in the sand, and it was making one thing painfully clear. There would be consequences for going any deeper. By daybreak, fear had hardened into determination. Brandon Fugal wasn't ready to retreat, not after coming this far. He authorized the next phase, a full-scale DART aerial sweep, using deep atmospheric radiotomography to map what traditional radar could not. The device was mounted beneath a helicopter, designed to scan both ground and sky, to pierce whatever invisible barrier the ranch seemed to generate. The operation began under a storm-gray horizon. From the command trailer, the Luna group monitored the chopper's feed in real time. The data started smooth: electromagnetic density, moisture levels, air ionization. Then, within seconds of passing over the triangle, the feed snapped to static. Every line of data flatlined. It wasn't noise, distortion, or weather. It was absence. A void that swallowed the signal whole. The pilot's voice cracked over the radio. "I've lost my compass. Controls feel heavy. We're being pulled." The entire room went cold. On the monitors, the helicopter's lights flickered and bent, shimmering as if passing through liquid. To the naked eye, it appeared to blur in and out of existence. One moment solid, the next ghost-like, distorted by some unseen distortion in the air. "Pull back!" Travis Taylor barked, gripping the comm. The pilot tried, but the craft didn't respond immediately. Alarms blared, and the DART unit beneath the fuselage began to overheat, red lights flashing across every screen. Eric Bard shouted the temperature readings, 80 degrees Celsius and climbing, even though the helicopter was flying through freezing desert air. Then the pilot's voice came again, strained and shaking. "There's something pacing us. It's right beside us." From the ground, the team could see it, a shadow, darker than the clouds, matching the chopper's movements perfectly. It wasn't visible on infrared. It wasn't a reflection. It was following. Then, just as the helicopter cleared the ridge, the signal reappeared, clean, crisp, and perfectly normal, as if nothing had happened. The pilot landed hard, stepping out pale and trembling. "It felt like we flew through a wall," he muttered. Inside the command trailer, Travis stared at the recovered data in silence. The readings showed something beyond comprehension. A vertical column of distortion stretching straight up from the Mesa into the sky. A perfect cylinder of electromagnetic interference extending miles high, like an invisible tower connecting Earth to somewhere above. He looked at Brandon and said the words no one wanted to hear. "That's not nature. That's design." Whatever was hiding beneath Skinwalker Ranch wasn't just underground. It reached into the air, surrounding them in a cage of unseen energy. The team hadn't just discovered a barrier, they'd flown straight into it. After the chaos in the air, the team made one collective decision. If the sky was off limits, they'd go underneath. Travis Taylor authorized a deep Earth probe deployment into the heart of the Anomaly, near the exact coordinates where the DART system had collapsed. The device, equipped with reinforced casing and heat-resistant sensors, was designed to transmit even under electromagnetic duress. But everyone in the trailer knew the risk. The last time they drilled here, the ground had fought back. The operation began in silence. The hum of the drill was low and steady, the data stream clear. Eric Bard called out the readings as they came in. Sediment, clay, fractured rock layer, depth 120 feet. Then the feed froze for a fraction of a second before correcting itself. A flicker that sent a wave of unease through the crew. Jeremiah frowned. "That wasn't lag," he said. "It's like something down there edited the signal." At 200 feet, the data spiked. The probe's magnetometer readings climbed past safe levels, and the temperature began to surge unnaturally. 10, 15, 20 degrees above ambient in under a minute. Then, the camera feed distorted, its view twisting into a haze of static and heat bloom. Through the blur, something metallic glimmered, a smooth, curved surface embedded deep in the rock, reflecting light like liquid steel. "That's it," Travis said, leaning closer. "That's the same signature we hit years ago. The chamber, the anomaly, the buried structure that refused to be breached." He ordered the team to stop drilling, but before the signal could be cut, the probe's temperature shot up past 90 degrees Celsius. Every alarm in the trailer screamed at once. Eric lunged for the kill switch, but the feed had already gone black. Then, without warning, the ground moved. A tremor rippled through the mesa, knocking tools from tables. Outside, dust rose in thin spirals as if drawn upward by invisible pressure. The team stumbled out of the trailer just in time to see a burst of blue light erupt from the drill site, a glowing sphere, silent and perfect, hovering 6 feet off the ground. It pulsed once, twice, then shot straight into the sky, vanishing without sound. No one spoke for nearly a minute. The smell of ozone hung in the air. The instruments were fried, not damaged, but erased. Every log, every data stream, gone. Travis finally broke the silence, his voice low, heavy with understanding. "That wasn't a malfunction," he said. "That was a response. Whatever was buried beneath the mesa wasn't dormant, it was alive. And now, it knew they were trying to reach it." The probe's destruction had crossed a line. The evidence was undeniable now. Skinwalker Ranch wasn't reacting by accident. It was responding with precision. Brandon Fugal wanted answers, but for the first time, even his confidence seemed to waver. "If that light was a defense mechanism," he muttered, "then we're not just studying the phenomenon, we're provoking it." Travis Taylor gathered the team inside the command trailer. The air felt heavy, the silence punctuated by the faint hum of fried equipment still cooling on the table. On the main screen, Eric Bard replayed the final moments before the probe went offline, frame by frame, pixel by pixel. Between the flashes of static, they could see it, a faint outline, spherical and perfectly symmetrical, embedded in the earth. It wasn't a rock formation. It wasn't metal debris. It was shaped like a machine. Jeremiah Pay enhanced the contrast, overlaying readings from the magnetic field data. The image sharpened, revealing a honeycomb-like pattern across the surface. Hexagonal grooves, too uniform to be natural. "It's manufactured," he said, "and it's massive." The room fell silent. The team's working theory turned darker with every revelation. If the tunnels they had mapped were deliberate and the structure beneath was constructed, then the ranch itself was part of something ancient, perhaps something still operational. Thomas Winterton broke the silence. "So, we're basically living on top of what? A reactor?" Travis shook his head. "Not a reactor," he said grimly. "A system." He zoomed in on the data streams they'd recovered before the blackout. These electromagnetic bursts aren't random. They're patterned, timed, like a heartbeat. The realization hit everyone at once. The ranch wasn't just guarding something. It was something, a living, intelligent mechanism disguised as landscape. Before anyone could speak, the trailer lights dimmed again. The EM meters spiked on their own, and the air thickened, vibrating with a deep resonance. Cameras outside flickered, showing static silhouettes darting between the mesas. Tall, distorted figures, humanoid, but wrong in proportion. For a moment, one paused near the fence line, head tilted, staring directly toward the trailer. Caleb whispered, "It's watching us." Travis didn't flinch. "No," he said, eyes locked on the monitors. "It's studying us, the same way we've been studying it." The thought settled like a weight over the room. Skinwalker Ranch was no longer a mystery they were trying to solve. It was a sentient system, ancient, engineered, and awake. And as of that night, it had finally turned its gaze back on them. By dawn, no one slept. The team had gathered under the flickering lights of the command trailer, surrounded by screens that refused to stay stable. What little data they'd salvaged painted a horrifying picture. The underground tunnels weren't random. They formed a precise geometric alignment beneath the mesa, connected by nodes that pulsed in measured intervals. The pattern mirrored something that shouldn't exist underground. A constellation. When mapped out, it aligned perfectly with the stars of Orion's belt. Eric Bard stared at the projection, his voice trembling. "This isn't construction. It's calibration. Travis adjusted his glasses, eyes fixed on the pulsating lines. You're saying it's astronomical? He asked. No, Eric replied. I'm saying it's a machine synchronized to the sky. The realization sent chills through the room. The tunnels, the energy pulses, the electromagnetic storms, they were all part of a larger mechanism. A mechanism that connected the Earth to the stars above, like an ancient relay still active after centuries. The blue orbs, the radiation spikes, the interference, none of it was random. It was all a byproduct of something operating beneath them. Then came the final confirmation. When the Luna Group's satellite data synced with the ranch's local readings, the resulting overlay revealed something impossible. The energy signature of the Mesa rose in vertical columns, creating a funnel-shaped distortion reaching high into the stratosphere. The ranch wasn't just a hotspot, it was a gateway. Travis Taylor broke the silence. Every time we dig, every time we scan, it reacts because we're triggering it. It's not passive, it's protecting something. Brandon leaned forward, his tone grave. Protecting what, exactly? Travis didn't look away from the monitors. Maybe not what? Maybe where? The words landed like thunder. The team wasn't investigating a mystery. They were trespassing on a boundary between worlds. As the sun set over the red horizon, the instruments went silent again. The Mesa pulsed once more, faint but deliberate, as though exhaling after being disturbed. For the first time since their arrival, no one spoke. The data was undeniable. Skinwalker Ranch was not a place of random phenomena. It was a designed system, intelligent, aware, and reactive. And if the team was right, they hadn't uncovered the heart of the mystery. They'd only grazed the surface of something vast, something ancient that had been watching long before humans ever set foot in Utah's desert. Travis turned off the final monitor, his reflection flickering in the black screen. "We came here to find the truth," he said quietly, but maybe the truth was never meant to be found. Outside, the Mesa rumbled one last time, a low, resonant hum, as if answering back. Then, silence.